Yeah, right.
You go to my office, you're not gonna want to go back.
Okay, everybody is ready to start. We're gonna go to our Python project, these Python classes that we opened last time. And then we should have this, right? I want you to hit this guy, right click, new file. They're gonna do Python file and you're gonna do class 2. Cool.
Is it new scratch file or
new scratch file?
Oh.
We're gonna make a small comment here. This is the
Python?
second class
Python.
in Python. Okay, so what did we see last time?
This one.
I'm gonna make a multi-line comment here.
How do I save it?
We reviewed the first thing that we saw, and then we also saw if statements, right? Forgot to spell statements. Statements. There you go, if statements, and then we saw while loops, right? We're gonna practice that today, and we are also gonna see for loops, and we're gonna see how for loops are useful to go through lists. For loops, usefulness.
Yeah, Andre, this is the third class.
Lists.
No, this is the second. I know that.
This is the second class. The first class was 0.
Oh.
Just like arrays and lists, they start at 0. Cool. So, any questions up till right now? Anything that you want to ask me? Any syntax? If not, we're gonna see a little bit of the content that we saw yesterday on Thursday, and then we're gonna jump into new content. Okay, so.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
But just everybody make sure you sign in the link in the group chat. The password is variables. Make sure you sign in so we have.
You look like new.
No, I was here the first Monday.
Okay, if you need any help, that's your guy right there. He's a pro.
One.
Nice to meet you, huh? Cool.
All lowercase and then
Yeah, all lowercase.
All lowercase. Cool. Okay. Let's do a little small menu. I'm gonna show you how to get user input now. So we're gonna get like a variable called answer, and Python is really easy and simple and straightforward. So you just get input, and then you say, how are you today, right? And you are gonna put a parenthesis, good, bad. Okay. So we're gonna practice a little bit the if statements, right? The input function returns a string, so it's gonna be just like this stuff, a list of characters, right? So we're gonna make an if statement with that answer. If answer equals to what? To good, right? We're gonna say, we're gonna print that's great. Now we can do else, right? Print too bad, right? Now we're missing the bad, right? So let's just put the elif, right? Answer equals to bad, right? We can print I'm sorry, too bad, and then we can kill this out. Too bad you didn't type the right thing. Cool. So if we run this program, it's gonna be here. How are you today? Good, bad, and it's gonna let me input something. So if I put good, what happened there? I put a space before. Actually, let's print whatever the person is putting so you can see what they are putting before. So we're gonna put answer. So how are you today? You see there's no space. If I put a space here and I put good, boom. It makes a whole big difference because this is good without the space in the front. That's what happened. Right? Now let's run again. Let's just put good. It should print. That's great, right? Let's try it. Boom. Good. That's great. Right? We're gonna try the other one. How are you today? Bad. Boom. I'm sorry. And if you do anything other than these two, you know, I can send a number that Boom, too bad you didn't type the right thing. Cool. Now let's expand this concept and let's make a while loop, right? And then we can say -1 to stop, right? So while answer not equal to -1, right? We're gonna keep asking the person to get us this, right? And then we're gonna just bring this one. You know, it was in this part of the execution. I'm gonna just cut it out all out and put it in the while loop, right? So we'll see what happens now. How are you today? I'm good. That's probably what's that gonna happen. Is that gonna execute this part? Is it gonna execute that part, or is it gonna execute this part if I type this? Anyone? It's gonna execute actually the else statement because good is not good with capital. So you need to be careful with that, right? Cool. Oh, I forgot to print the first time, so we can just actually take this out. There you go. Because it's already gonna run in the loop. Run that number, okay. Answer, we have to initialize the answer. There you go, we're good. So how are you today? I sent good, it tells me too bad you didn't type the right thing. I need to ask you again because you're in a while loop. How are you today? Bad, it's gonna tell you too bad because you didn't put the right answer. But if I do good like this, boom, that's great. And then if I do bad, boom, I'm sorry. And then if I do -1, boom. Okay, that's kind of easy, right? I'm just showing you how you can use like if statements to get the input of a person and just play with it, right? We can get even something more. We can go into another example. Let's do an example with numbers, right? So my secret number, right? And then my secret number is gonna be 7, right? And then the answer is gonna be input and like guess my number from 1 to 100, right? We're gonna make this small game. Now that's too much. Guess my number from 1 to 10. Now, as I told you guys, this comes as a string, right? So there's this concept in all programming languages, which is called casting. So you transform the data to another type of data. So if it comes as a string, as a list of characters, we want to transform it into an int, which is an integer, right? So we call the function int inside this. So this is gonna return a string, right? And that string is gonna be the input of this int function, and the answer is gonna end up being an integer. And then we can do if answer equals to my secret number. You got it. You got it. Else we can print too bad, right? Or sorry, not the right number, right? Then boom, guess my number from 1 to 10. I put 3, sorry, not the right number, right? You want him to keep playing, right? So we are going to make this kind of like a while loop. See this interesting thing that I'm gonna do. You know, while loops also has the if statement there, so you just need to do while answer is not equal to my secret number, and then we can edit this code a little bit. We're gonna put this inside the while loop, and then we're gonna do if answer equals my secret number, print you got it, else sorry, not the right number. Let's see what happens. Sorry, so we do get my number from 1 to 10. I send 3. Oops. So we gotta get the input again, right? Every time. So what we can do is bring this thing here and then put it here and then do answer equals to -1. We are initializing the answer. and then we do that. Otherwise, it's gonna run like an infinite for loop, right?
Wait. What would cause it to run infinitely?
I'm gonna rewind so you know what's
'Cause
happening.
my first code is running infinitely right now.
Yeah, so this is the thing. You have to get the input, right? You get the input right here. Then you go into your while loop. Your while loop evaluates if this is true or not. But you have no way to like change the value of answer here, right? So answer in this is gonna keep going into my secret number. And the first value that I entered was what? Oh, we have to go all the way up because it runs a lot of times per second. So, well, it's not even letting me see, it's all the way to up.
Sorry, that's not the right answer.
So it's gonna be 3 not equal to 7, 3 not equal to 7, 3 not equal to 7, and you're never gonna be able to update number 3. So you need to make sure that you are able to update stuff inside your while loop, otherwise you will have an infinite while loop. It just happened to me. So you put this answer here, right? Boom. So every time you're gonna ask, every time you enter into a while loop, you're gonna ask the user to get the input. And then you only need to initialize once here. So you can say answer is -1. Because why -1? Because you are doing from 1 to 10, right? So he will never put -1. And that's pretty much it. If we run this code, guess my number, I sent 3. Sorry, not the right number. Guess my number, I sent that 2. Sorry, not the right number, right? 8, no, and then 7, we know that's 7, right? Boom, you got it. Done. You just made a guess my number simple code. Any questions? I see doubts. I see doubts in mind. I see people a little concerned.
I can't make mine run. Like when I hit run, it runs my class 0. Like,
Oh, so you gotta do, let's do this. Here you do right click, and then you do run class2. Boom.
How do I make it so I answered the right answer and now it just keeps saying for the first one it just keeps saying that's great
Same.
infinitely.
Okay, so you're not updating your answer.
So put it after Control X, put it here. Does it need to be indented or can it be? What is it?
There's a few ways that you can also vary this. You can actually get the answer at the beginning, right? And then just get this same thing right after the else statements. So you're gonna have the value of answer, you're gonna have the value of answer here, you're gonna have the value of answer for this if statement, and they're gonna update it right before you enter the next loop. So there's several ways to do the same code.
Wait, what if I want it to end?
If you want it to end
After I
by
answer, so mine
cool.
said,
So we can also add and. That's something that I'm gonna teach you. So and, that's a good question, and we're gonna do that. And answer is not equal to, let's say, -1, and we tell him here -1 to end, right? So and statements, this is where the Boolean algebra comes to place. This while loop is only going to execute if these both are true. So if this comparison is true and this comparison is true, it's gonna execute. If this is false and this one is true, it's gonna get out. They both need to be true. That's the difference between and then we have another one called or, right? The or, it's whether if one is true, you will execute. They don't all have to be true, but and yes, it's like me and you, like you're including both people. There is me or you, so either gets chosen, the thing gets executed. So let's try to run this guy. Guess my number, right? If I do 2, let's see what happens. 2. Sorry, not the right number. Guess again. 3, not the right number. I wanna end -1. It's done. Now, there's something that we miss here. We only put the -1 here, so the user is not gonna keep knowing, so we might wanna just do that too. And boom, we can try our little game again. Guess a number. I put 4, not the right number, 2, not the right number, 8, not the right number. Let's say I wanna end, I just put -1, boom. And process finished with exit code 0. That means that your program just ended. Yes.
Is there a way to break off the different sections of your codes?
Yes.
Like,
correct.
Like only run parts of it.
Yeah, so we can actually take this away, right? And then we can do here if, let me just change that. Sounds weird. Okay, if answer equals to -1. Now we want to see if the answers we're gonna break. It's gonna break from the while loop.
No, I mean like so the first part where you said if how are you doing or that while loop, that structure there. If I wanna keep that in my script, but I don't wanna run that when I run this, is there a way I can save that text without commenting it off and like putting it in a different section?
I don't understand what you're saying. You want to create a function.
No, not quite.
You want to not
Like
execute
in
your
MATLAB,
code.
It's called sections, where you section off different parts, and you when you hit run, you only run that section.
Yeah,
You don't run the whole file. You
that's
only run
perfectly
different
fine.
parts.
So as I was telling you, Python goes from top to bottom, so it's gonna execute whatever is here, right?
Okay.
You can definitely, and I'm gonna teach you guys now that you answer, you can definitely exclude your code. You can just do define, that's how you create a function. And you call it my function. It has no inputs as far as right now. And I'm gonna create a function. This is not gonna run unless I call it, right? I'm gonna teach you guys functions later, but that is a way to answer your question. So we're gonna have this here, right?
Yeah,
And then we're
I
also
wanna
gonna have this
keep
guy.
what I had for my notes, but I don't want it to run.
Yeah.
Like I want to isolate it from work.
So functions serve to isolate, that's correct, and to keep your code neat in like one task. So you create a function. We're not gonna, don't worry about learning this or like having a hard time like with this. I'm putting all my code in this little block called my function, right? If I run the code, nothing is gonna happen. Why? Because I'm not calling my function. If I want this to get run, all this to get run, I have to call my function right here. So we're gonna see that and how to make code neat later. There you go, you see now that I put it here, Python comes all the way from the top, comes reads. He's defining a function, cool. I'm gonna save that to know whenever I get called, and then boom, here I'm actually calling the function. This is called calling the function. So Python arrives here, he sees that, he goes up and he's like, oh, he defined this function here, I'm gonna run the code that is inside here. So that's why it's a function. It has an input which goes in these two parentheses, processing, and sometimes, not all the times, has an output which is a return. But yeah, we're gonna see functions in a little bit. I just wanted to practice the if statements with you. Here, for example, you can do if and then elif too. They're both gonna execute. The only difference is that if and if, they will both execute. If and elif only executes if the first one was not true, then you go to the second one, right? You're kind of chaining things together, making them dependent to each other. Okay, so that answers your question to separate the code. Cool. You can separate the code into chunks. MATLAB uses sections. Here we use functions to separate the code. Let's go back to. Actually, let's keep that there. Now that you already saw it, I'm just not gonna run that code. It's like I commented out, but it's there. It's my. Let's call it actually something interesting, so you know that you have to call the things. My secret number game. Cool. That's called my function. Or a secret number game. Perfect. Now, I want to show you for loops. And the best way to learn for loops is why do we use for loops, right? I'm going to have a list, right? So my friends list. And then I'm going to include some of you guys because I love you guys. Trevor, Jonathan, your name is too long. I'm just going to put Johnny. And then, I don't know, Peter is my invisible friend. I don't know. So if I want to print each one of the persons, I do for name in my friends list, I'm gonna do print name, and we're gonna go over what the hell is happening here, but let's do it. So you see Trevor, Johnny, and Peter get printed. So basically what is this doing is for loops are useful to go through every single element in a list. That's why this is the syntax. So you do for, you create a variable. This variable is going to take the name of the place in the list that you are looping through. And then you do my friends list. So name right here is going to first go to Trevor. So name is going to have the value of Trevor right here, and then it's going to execute this body of the for loop, and it's going to print Trevor. After it finishes, there's no more code, so it goes up again, right? It checks that my friend list still has elements. So name right now it's going to be Johnny, and then it's going to come down here and print the name. That's why Johnny is here. And then finally, it's going to check that the list still has values, right? So name is going to become Peter, and then it's going to print it here. More or less, I'm going to put a comment. So name is going to be equal in the first loop, it's going to be equal to Trevor. In the second loop run of this one, name is going to be equal to Johnny. And then in the third run of this loop, name is going to be equal to Peter, right? And here I'm just printing the name so you can see what's happening. That's the line of code, right? Now you can do that, we can do other stuff with it. I'm going to show you one function that is very useful for loops. It's called range. So we are going to do for and do number in range. So range is a function that returns a list from 0 to 1 minus the value that you're going to put inside as an input. So if I do my number in range 100, right, it's going to go from 0 to 99. Let's do it. Let's see if it's true what I'm saying, or I'm just bullshitting you guys. Okay, so it goes from 0 to 99. So that's how the function got created. So you put a number in there, it goes from 0 to 1 minus the value that you're throwing there. Now, this function is a kind of magical because not only does that, you can actually define where you want it to start. I want it to start at 50, from 50 to 1 minus 100, right? So let's see what happens. It runs 50 until that. Now you can also say 50. So you see, even that's the beauty about coding in PyCharm on other IDEs. Like when I throw this comma, you see all the suggestions that it's telling me. Like it tells me this function accepts an integer, and then like it even has a step, right? Start, stop, and step. So it tells you how to use it. So that not all, like if you're coding in a notepad or not edit or text edit, that won't show there. So it's useful when you want to do stuff. So I wanted the step to do every 2. So let's see what's gonna print. You see, it's only gonna print the what do you call these guys? The even numbers, right? You can do a step of 3, right? And then that's gonna be it. This playlist, I'm sorry, too intense for I don't know. There you go. This is softer. Sorry, that's like the break time. Cool. Every 3. So you see it got every 3, and you can do that. And that's basically it. That's the basic functionality. There's a little more into it, but that's the basic functionality where people use it. You also maybe you can change this and make it 100 to 50, right? In steps of -1. Let's see what happens. So you're actually counting backwards. That's cool, right? Yeah. So that's basically it. You can play with it. The step, it just means what do you wanna, like, how do you want it to iterate? And range just returns a list. So literally range, what it's doing, it's saying, okay, I get these 3 inputs. I'm gonna start my list here, and then I'm gonna do 100, 99, 98, 97, and then you do blah 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 blah. Now because you have the -1, it's doing that. Like if you will only have that, probably it's gonna give you an error. Let's see what happens, because you're starting with like a number that is bigger. You see, it's not gonna run because it starts at 100 and it cannot go down, right? So that's why usually you count from small number to big number, right? You don't count backwards unless you explicitly tell it to count backwards. Boom. So from 50 to 99. Cool. So that is yes.
You tell it to count backwards.
How do I tell it to count backwards?
Yeah.
So I tell it where do I want it to start,
But you just reverse that.
and then I tell it where you want to finish, and then you tell him I want you to count -1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I want you to do every -1 steps. So you're gonna subtract that, and if I do that, boom, it's counting backwards. It's also printing these guys because this is the first for loop that is running, right?
How do you separate them
From running,
from executing?
so you can comment it out, right? Or you can put it somewhere else if you're actually gonna use the code later. But you can just comment it out, right?
You
So-
can't pause that code.
No, sadly you cannot.
Okay.
Python in that sense, it doesn't ask you what do you want to run or not. It's whatever you hit here, that's what it's gonna run. So yeah, cool. So now we know how to count backwards. We can also count backwards every 2 numbers, right?
Mhm.
Boom. So yeah, what other applications you have with this? When you have friends, a list of friends in Instagram, when you hit the followings and you want to see your list of friends, it's just basically a for loop that's running through all your followers or followings and showing you every element and populating that table that you have there. So like for loops are really, really useful because it allows you to just go through every element in a list. And lists are usually how you store data in programming. So now let's make these also for loops are really useful to actually make your own list, right? Like I want to have my list, I'm gonna call my favorite numbers, right? My favorite numbers, I'm gonna make an empty list, right? And I'm gonna make a for loop to actually populate this list. So for number in range, I'm just gonna do the first 20 elements, right? And I'm gonna do my favorite list. Remember this one that we already used, dot append number. So it's gonna append all the numbers from 0 to 19, right? I'm just gonna comment this guy out. So it's also helpful to populate your lists. You're not gonna see anything printing because it's only populating the list, but if I do print my friend list, boom, you have that. By the way, my friend list already had Trevor, Johnny, and Peter. So you have Trevor, Johnny, and Peter, and then the numbers from 0 to 19, right? Now we can do my favorite numbers. That's actually the list that I wanted to. So we're just gonna change it to my favorite numbers and create it here, take it out of the commenting section and put it here. And we're gonna print my favorite numbers, right? Cool. So now it's just 0 to 19. So you can append it. I just wanted to show you that you can literally put anything in a list. You can put strings, you can put numbers, you can put Boolean variables there, you can put any data type in a list. That's the good thing about Python. Actually, is a downside too, because if you want to do like some math and suddenly you have a little bug and you put a name there, it's gonna crash your program, right? Because strings, you cannot do math with strings. Cool. Any questions up till right now? Are you comfortable in going like a step higher? I want to show you one algorithm for searching. And yeah, we can do that. It's gonna be a little complex, but I think you guys can do it. But I want to see how comfortable are you guys with that. We're already like advanced enough to show you something that you can search. So searching is very important in programming because you have like a ton of data. Like Control F. Everybody likes to do Control F. So we as programmers try to make your search as fast as possible because you don't want to do Control F, search for a name, and have like 20 hours waiting until your computer finds a name that you want. So searching is a big thing. Google basically built all his empire regarding searching, right? So it's kind of an important thing. Cool. So in order to do this search, I'm gonna call this list numbers. I'm gonna make it empty. I'm just initializing it. I'm gonna for loop, right? For number in range, and I'm gonna throw it 101 because I want the numbers. Actually, I'm gonna do from 1 to 101. That means that it's gonna start at 1. It's gonna finish at 100 because always starts the first element and goes 1 minus the last element. And I'm gonna populate my numbers, right? I misspelled this. I put numbers. There you go, numbers. Dot append, and I'm gonna append the number. I have a little syntax error here. I'm gonna correct it. Put those 2 dots there, and I'm gonna print numbers, right? So you can see what's happening in there. Boom. So I have a list from 1 to 100. Now I want to search, right? I want to see if a value is in that list, right? The list, if you see, is in order, right? Now let's gonna get this answer from the user, right? We're gonna get input, right? Like enter a number to search in my numbers list, right? And then this comes as a string, right? So we need to, as we did last time, we cast it. So we throw int, and we're basically saying the output of this function, which is a string, which is what the user enters, is gonna go in the inside of this function, and this function is gonna return as an output here whatever the user sent as an integer, right? Now let's just make this a little nicer, right? And also let's print the answer so you see what's happening here. So we have that, and then it's asking me enter a number to search in my number list, and I'm gonna put 26, right? Boom. Now we actually want to do the searching, right? Python makes it very easy to search. You can do something very easy like if answer in numbers, right? That's the easy way to go. Print number is here, right? Number is here in my numbers list, or just let's make it simple. Number is in my numbers list, right? Else we're gonna say print sorry, that number is not in my list, right? Let's see what happens. I'm gonna take away this print answer. I'm just gonna put it up here so you know that I'm creating these numbers. I'm making them from 1 to 100. I'm printing these 1 to 100 numbers. I'm getting the answer. I'm printing the answer. And I'm checking if the answer is in numbers or not, right? So enter, and then I'm gonna say 26, right? Boom, number is in the number list, right? If I do -1, right? Sorry, that number is not in my list, right? Now if you see, we're combining lists, we're combining loops, so we're starting to get somewhere, right? We're starting to have all these little tools that we have, and we're getting somewhere. If you see these answering numbers, the way it runs is going to check every single element of your list one by one to figure out where is it. And there's other ways to search. I think if we become more advanced, we can definitely do it, and I can show you how to actually search, not going through. What's the worst case scenario? That the number is actually all the way until the end, right? It's 100. So you will have to check every single number of your list up till you arrive. There's better ways to do. If the list is in order like this, you can start in the middle and be like 50, right? Is 50 less or more than my number? If it's less, you come here, you go to 25, and then if it's less or more than my number. What number did I put before? I put 26, right? so then you will say it's more, right? So then you go from a number between 25 and 50, right in the middle. I don't know which exactly will be the number between 25 and 50. That's 7 more, so it will be 33, about 33 or 34. And then we'll say, is it more or less? It's less, right? So it will come to 29, and then you will have these three elements. And then from 29, is it more or less? Is less, right? You will come to 27. And is it more or less? Is less, and then you will come to 26. Is it 26? There you have it. So that allows you to actually visit elements not from 1 all the way to 100, but like actually splitting things into chunks. And you search faster. And that's a way to search, right? There's a million ways to search. We're just talking about one way to search, right? So yeah, those are for loops. Yes.
Could you go over that like real quick again?
Yeah, for sure, no problem. So we're here, right? We're trying to see my answer, which is the value that I just entered. I'm gonna run the program one more time. So I'm gonna put 21, right? And I'm analyzing more or less what the code is actually doing, because it's really like abstracted from us. We don't really know what's happening in this line, right? Because we're just saying if answer in numbers, right? So the way that it works, it will take this 21, right? And it will try to match it with every single element one by one, starting all the way from 1. It will go 1, 2, 3, until it goes all the way until 21. And if any of them matched, it will tell you it's true, right? It will tell you that's true, and it will print the number in the list, right? So worst case scenario is that you throw actually a 100, right? And it will go from 1 all the way to 100, being 100 the last number, so you will actually have to search through all your list, right? Now, that's not a difficult, is 1 to 100, but let's say it's 1 to a billion. You'll have to go through a billion numbers before you know what, if like that number is in your list or not. So a way of solving that is like if you have your list in order like that, you can actually split your list in chunks, right? So you have, let's run it again. Let's say one that is like 75, right? Let's do 75. So you come to 50, right? You go to the middle, right in the middle. From 1 to 100 is 50. You take 50 and you say, is 50 more or less than the number that I'm searching for? It's more, right? So if it's more, I take this right chunk and I do the same thing. I split it in the middle. So actually I split it in the middle between 50 and 100. The middle is 75, right? So you do, is 75 equal to 75? There you go, you got it. You got it in 2 searches, right? The other one is like, you go from 1 and then you go 2 and then you go 3 and then you go 4. So I got a number in 2 searches compared to 75 searches that it will have to take me to go from 1 to 75, right? So it's just being more efficient. Why you want to be more efficient? Because we cannot see it right now with 100 numbers, but when like data is super big, you don't want it to take forever, right? And computers are fast, but like if it's a billion numbers, it's still gonna be a little slow, right? Because it has to compare every single element. And sometimes it's not just a one element comparison. Sometimes it's like you have to compare if it's the name, and then if it's the date of birth, and then if it's like the person who lives there, because there can be people that have your same name, your same date of birth, and maybe you have a different city where you live. So you will have to search all these 3 keys in order to find it's like if it's you or it's someone else, right? Cool. So yeah, that's what we are learning, and yeah, we can make a small, we're gonna make in these last 10 minutes a small program that is gonna be able to store your favorite friends, right? So let's do that. We're gonna start with a while loop. While not over, we're gonna call over. So I'm just gonna call it game over, although it's not a name. Oh, program over. Let's call it program over, right? And we're gonna call it false, right? Well, program not over, yeah. Program not over. We're gonna ask, so answer answer is gonna be the input of the person, and like type add to add friend, remove to, I'm gonna put a this, remove to remove a friend, and C to show your friends. And then we're gonna say also end to finish program, right? And we're gonna combine everything right now and make this thing, right? So we get an input and we do if answer equals to add. I'm gonna make a small comment here, and then this add has to be as a string, right? If answer equals to add, we're gonna add friend to the list, right? If answer equals to remove, right? We are going to remove, we're going to what? So if you say remove, you actually need to send the name. So we are gonna ask for friend name, and we're actually gonna have an if statement here. If name is in the list, we're gonna delete that. If not, we're just gonna tell him, sorry, it's not in the list. So we're gonna have name equals to input, give me the name, like show me the money. Okay, so if name in wait, I'm gonna change that. So there you go. If name in we're gonna call it my friends list, right? So I'm gonna call it my friends list. It was already here, so we're gonna, where is my friends list? I'm gonna actually empty it, so I'm gonna just delete it from here. So I'm gonna just make a new friends list right here. So it's new and it's empty. I'm just telling Python to create a list that is empty. So if name equals input, give me the name, right? He's gonna, if name in my friend list, right? What are we gonna do? We're gonna my friend list dot remove, and we're gonna send the name, just like the variable. There you go. Else, we're gonna say to the user, sorry, that name is not in my friend list. Cool. So that's for add, remove, and then we need to finish the end. So if answer equals to end, right? We want to end the program, right? How do we end the program? We just need to get out of the for loop. So we're just gonna say program over equals to true, right? So now I'm playing here with the not, in the sense that program over is false, so while not program over, so false and not, no and no becomes true, right? That's why the while loop is executing. And here when I make my program over true, negative and plus is negative, right? So not true is actually false. So the while loop will stop working. Oh, we forgot something else. We also have to say, let me get here, if answer equals to C, right, we are actually going to print my friends list, right? Now, it's better just because you want to check every single element and keep going based on whatever it is. We're gonna do this with elif. So if this is not true, then we're gonna check this one. So we're gonna do that, right? We're gonna tighten this thing. So we're gonna just put a bunch of ellipse. So this is where you start, and then you do that. Now we are missing the add part, right? I put as a comment that we're gonna add a friend to the list, but we haven't actually coded that. So we're gonna do my friends list dot append, right? And we're gonna append what? We actually have to ask them name equals input, and we're gonna tell him give me the name, right? And then we can append the name. Cool. With that done, we actually have a program that makes a list of our friends. So enter, oh wait, this is executing this. So I'm just gonna comment it out real quick. We've been doing a lot of code today, that's why. Cool. So yeah, there you go, that's my point. Type add to add a friend, remove to remove a friend, C to show your friends, and to finish the program, right? If I see C right now, there you go, there's nothing, right? Because my list is empty. I don't have friends right now that I have added, right? So let's add a friend, right? I'm gonna type add, and then give me the name, and I'm gonna start with Trevor, right? And then I'm gonna say C. Look, Trevor is in there now. Let's add another person, Nicole, right? And then I wanna see my list, Trevor and Nicole. You see, we're actually making a program that has a menu. Maybe the menu is ugly, maybe it doesn't have buttons, but that thing we can learn real quick, and actually we will learn that. But we are starting to get into a little more complex things, and they all are based in loops and in if statements. There's nothing much more apart from later we're gonna show you how to compartmentalize your program, to structurize your program, so you don't get confused, because big apps like Facebook, like Instagram, they have a lot of functionalities. So you actually build every single brick into a bigger program, and then we can keep playing, right? It's gonna let's put the remove functionality, right? Give me the name. If let's say I want to remove John. John is obviously not there, so sorry, that name is not in my friend list. Let's try again. So remove, and I'm gonna remove Trevor. There you go. And then I can see, boom, it's just Nicole there. Trevor is no longer there. And if I'm already done with my program, I can hit end. And that's it. We have actually learned how to add friends to my friend list, to remove them and add them with a small, simple menu that we just created, to just show you guys how if statements work. So yeah, that'll be it for today. Thank you so much for bearing with me in this Monday. Have a good one. Thank you.